Hello everyone. My name is Fatou Diouf. I am the Afro Regional Coordinator and a communication expert for the Framework Convention Alliance. Today, I am in conversation with Mr. Tal, who is the president of the UNESCO University Club Committee for the Fight Against Drugs and Other Pandemics in Côte d'Ivoire, Clucode in Africa. He will discuss with us the progress and challenges of tobacco control in Côte d'Ivoire. Hello, Mr. Tal.
Hello, Fatou Diouf. I'm doing well by God's grace. And you?
Everything is going well, thank you. And I must say that we are delighted to have you here with us. We know that tobacco kills about 5,000 people every year in Côte d'Ivoire, in spite of the reinforcement of the country's tobacco control legislation. What progress have been observed in Côte d'Ivoire from the laws and decrees available?
Bien, merci Fatou. Je voudrais, avec votre permission, vous consacrer un devoir. D'abord, un devoir pour remercier les
Thank you, Fatou. With your permission, I would like to thank the initiators of this activity, which will allow us to share our modest contribution to the fight against smoking in our country.
du tabagisme dans notre pays. Et en tout cas, c'est aussi une occasion pour moi de dire bonjour à tous les acteurs.
It is also an opportunity for me to say hello to all the tobacco control actors throughout Africa and the world.
C'est un honneur pour moi de prendre la
It is an honor for me to speak on behalf of Ivorian civil society actors. And as you said, I am the manager of the NGO, Clucode, but at the same time, I am the president of the network of NGOs active in tobacco control in Côte d'Ivoire.
tabagisme. C'est une réalité aussi en Côte d'Ivoire. Et
The scourge of smoking is a reality in Côte d'Ivoire, and today it is estimated that there are more than 9 million deaths according to the Tobacco Atlas 2018. One of the major challenges today is new and emerging nicotine-based products and tobacco without nicotine. Now the question is how all this is organized in Côte d'Ivoire.
à la question, il faut dire que la Côte d'Ivoire, à l'instar des autres pays, effectivement, a ratifié la Convention.
It must be said that Côte d'Ivoire, like other countries, ratified the WHO Framework Convention on Tobacco Control in 2010, and in 2015 there was the additional protocol which we ratified.
2012, il y a eu un décret portant interdiction
In 2012, a decree banning smoking in public places and public transport was signed. And in 2019, precisely on the 23rd of July, we passed the tobacco control law in Côte d'Ivoire. We also had another law on the orientation of public health policy in Côte d'Ivoire. And there was the adoption of an interministerial decree on the creation, organization, and functioning of the Technical Committee for monitoring and the marking of traceability systems. There is also the adoption in 2020 of a law on the legal regime of advertising communication. Article 34 of this law stipulates that all advertising of tobacco and tobacco products in any form whatsoever is prohibited. This ban applies to tobacco substitutes, including electronic cigarettes and even hookahs.
Il y a eu aussi l'adoption de deux décrets tout récemment.
There was also the adoption of 2 decrees just recently in January 2022. The decree on the modalities of application of health warnings, plain packaging, labeling, and marketing of tobacco and tobacco products, and the adoption of the decree on the institution of a system of monitoring, traceability, tax education of tobacco products. These are some of the legislations we have been able to achieve in Côte d'Ivoire.
Et que nous avons connu en Côte d'Ivoire.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur Tal. C'est vrai que
Thank you very much, Mr. Tal. It is true that since 2010, we have seen a lot of progress coming from your country. We note as well that you are the first African country to adopt plain packaging. So, congratulations to you. We can see that this is also a collaboration between the government and civil society, and that without you, the civil society organizations, all this progress will not be possible.
Je pense que la Côte d'Ivoire aussi
Côte d'Ivoire started this fight way back in 1965 with a decree, and since then, there has been remarkable progress, making Côte d'Ivoire one of the model countries for Africa. Despite all this, however, each country has its own challenges. So, I would like to know what the current challenges of tobacco control are in Côte d'Ivoire.
Bien, merci. Il faut dire que pour ce qui concerne les défis, bon, je pense que le premier défi que je vais
Thank you very
mentionner,
much.
c'est
I think the first challenge I'm going to mention is a lack of stakeholder capacity in leadership, governance, project management, and resource mobilization.
le deuxième défi, c'est le manque de données
And the second challenge is a lack of data.
selon le niveau national. On a un défaut d'implication des produits émergents dans le
There is also the lack of multi-sectoral coordination at national level, and there is a lack of involvement of emerging products in our regulatory texts. Although Article 1 of the Tobacco Control Law defines tobacco and tobacco products in a broad way, taking into account all new tobacco products, there are no specific regulations on these products. There is a low tax rate on tobacco and tobacco products, although this fiscal year has taken into account novel products.
les autres produits du tabac, je veux dire les nouveaux produits du tabac, mais le taux de taxation
The tax rate is still below the minimum recommended by ECOWAS and WIMO. I am referring to directives on the harmonization of the tax system in these two sub-regional blocks.
fiscal. Et aussi, on a le non-respect de la
There is also the non-respect of the tobacco control law and the related regulatory text. There is the absence of systematic monitoring of the prevalence of tobacco consumption and tobacco products at national level, the lack of financial resources for civil society to effectively monitor the tobacco industry, then there is of course the ever-present tobacco industry interference.
de l'industrie du tabac.
Merci beaucoup, Tal. C'est vrai que pour beaucoup de pays africains, on a un problème de ressources financières. Je pense que beaucoup de pays africains ont ce problème.
Thank you very much, Tal. It is true that many African countries have this problem of financial resources. And I think many African countries also have the problem of tax rates, especially the WIMO and ECOWAS countries. And depending on the country, these rates can change as you just explained for Côte d'Ivoire. For the third point, I want to address with you, we know that these different challenges constitute a hindrance to the advancement of tobacco control, especially in Côte d'Ivoire. There is also this new phenomenon of shisha, which is very popular with young people. What are the actions taken by civil society to deal with this problem, and what do you intend to do to raise awareness about these new tobacco products?
Quelles sont les actions en fait menées par la société civile pour faire face à ce problème et que comptez-vous faire pour sensibiliser la population et des nouveaux produits du tabac?
Bien, merci Fatou. Il faut dire que concernant cette question, au niveau déjà même en 2019, dans le cadre de
Well, thank you, Fatou. Regarding this issue, already in 2019, within the framework of our tobacco industry monitoring activities, we conducted investigations and we found that shisha, water pipes, and electronic cigarettes were in vogue in our country alongside the traditional cigarettes that we know.
traditionnels que nous connaissons. Et cela nous a permis en 2020 de continuer notre investigation qui nous a permis permis de voir un peu comment ce phénomène se comportait dans notre pays.
This led us to continue another investigation in 2020 to see how the phenomenon was unfolding in our country. And thanks to the support of the African Capacity Building Foundation, ACBF, with the technical support of ATCA, we carried out activities to raise awareness among the population, but more so among public authorities. This was done with a new partnership in the framework of a project on leadership and initiatives of non-state actors financed by the European Union. Within the framework of these two projects, we carried out activities to popularize the law by focusing on the measures to ban smoking in public places and public transport. We also adapted awareness-raising material, especially no tobacco signage. As you know, the existing materials were only for cigarettes, and as I mentioned, our law already provided for the inclusion of new tobacco products such as electronic cigarettes and shisha. The first action within the framework of these two projects was to adopt these tobacco control signage material, and thank God it was validated by the Tobacco Control Program, which is the Ministry of Health's focal point for tobacco control and coordinates tobacco control initiatives in Côte d'Ivoire. This material is therefore a contribution from civil society. Today, we have signage that takes into account not only the traditional cigarettes that we know, but also electronic cigarettes and hookah. Another initiative was a tobacco control competition initiated by a civil society organization to recognize journalists engaged in tobacco control. This was an opportunity to interest journalists not only in the problem of traditional cigarettes, but also of new tobacco products. And today, I can say that we have a lot of articles on these novel products, which led the police to raid and ban certain shisha clubs that were proliferating the city and the whole country. This campaign helped to push authorities to intervene and to ensure enforcement of some provisions of our legislations, notably the ban on smoking in public places, because, as you know, shisha is more rampant in restaurants, pastry shops, and ice cream parlors. The other aspect is resources for monitoring and reporting of interference and advocacy activities. In this light, we received additional funding through some resource mobilization efforts. I already talked about the research action that enabled us to identify the proliferation of shisha in the country. These are some of the actions I can enumerate.
Merci beaucoup, M. Tal. Je pense qu'on a beaucoup appris venant de vous.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tal. We have learned a lot from you and what is happening in your country. And I think that one of the things I understood with this last question is that having a multi-sectoral collaboration with the government, civil society, and journalists is very important for awareness, and all that leads to progress in our countries.
Vraiment, nous remercions la société civile, nous vous remercions vous tout d'abord pour tout le travail que vous faites pour faire avancer la lutte anti-tabac.
Thank you very much for all the work you are doing to advance tobacco control in Côte d'Ivoire. We will continue to support you and we wish you good luck for the future.
Et je voudrais dire un grand merci à tous nos partenaires.
I would like to say a big thank you to all our partners. I am thinking of ATCA, ACBF, FCA, SMU, the Union, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation for all their contributions to the fight against tobacco in Africa and especially in our country, without forgetting the actors of the Ivorian civil society. Thank you all and see you soon.